Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the next session of We Summit 2024. Hello, everyone. Hello. Nice to see. 안녕하세요. Nice to see. Hello. Next up, we have a fantastic session titled The Rise of International Esports Competitions. Event organizers from major global esports competitions will share insights into the concepts, the goals, and the audiences that shape their events. This session will provide a deep dive into the strategic thinking behind the largest esports events worldwide. The moderator for this panel is Boban Tatovsky, General Secretary at IESF. Boban will be joined by the panelists, Jeffrey Borg, CEO of IMSA, Josh An, COO of T1 Esports, and Ray Ng, Head of Esports Ecosystem at Moonton. Please join me in welcoming this panel to We Summit 2024. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. Take a seat, gentlemen. Have a great session.
Welcome. Thank you everybody for being here and everybody that's going to watch this video in the future. Having this combination of speakers is quite unique because they'll come from different backgrounds, different ecosystems, but they have something in common, which is how important international competitions are. So to start off, they have already been introduced, so I'm going to start with Jeffrey, who is sitting next to me. You've done hundreds of events in your life, chess, mind sports. I know esports can be easily put in the mind sports group. How much did those competitions actually help esports, help the sport that the competition was played in, develop and grow compared to just doing local and smaller tier competitions?
Well, you need a balance of everything. So first of all, I mean, when you look at your calendar, if you're representing, so when I was CEO of the World Chess Federation, for example, you look and you see your calendar and you say, we need a balance of small events and big events because you have to cater for all your target markets, youth, seniors, children, schools, adults, professional players. And you need to give them opportunity to earn money because, of course, the real reason for an event, I'm a firm believer, of course, that some events are just fireworks. You need them, unfortunately, to help build your brand. But in reality, your objective is first continuity. You need to have a stable calendar because, again, if people are looking at it and you're erratic in your organization, this year you do it, one year you don't do it, it's very bad for the sport. Secondly, it's also credibility. Credibility is very important. If you're leading an international organization, all the people behind you then have to see that you're actually delivering results. So when you're working on events, you also have to be responsible towards the city. Generally speaking, I mean, we heard the sponsorship presentation before. We mustn't ignore also the fact that many sponsors are actually host cities who have different objectives to commercial sponsors like Red Bull. Red Bull, of course, is interested in the metrics. They want to see that they're getting global reach. Benji was saying that, of course, he had McDonald's as one of his clients. I had a meeting once with McDonald's, and the numbers that they were looking for were just humongous. They were something that we couldn't reach. So they were interested in metrics. They liked the product, but they said, this is just not up for us. So when we're looking at a whole event, it's what are the objectives of the federation? What are the objectives of the host city? What are the objectives of the players? And generally speaking, yes, I've been successful in nearly all the events that I've organized, that I've always tried to balance that everyone reaches their objectives.
Okay, so basically what I hear is that the international competitions are more of a value for the host rather than for the federation, or what's the actual value for?
You have to give value to the host because, of course, I mean, if a particular host is spending $15 million on an event, I mean, if you're going to burn it, you're going to burn it not just for chess or mind sports or whatever. They're going to be very skeptical about touching other sports events in future. So the first thing is you need to show professionalism with the host city. You need to show them that the money is being well invested in the key areas, particularly promoting the metrics, promoting the city, getting them to improve their tourism, their name. Some of the cities sometimes are very strange destinations, so they want to promote their city. You have to work for the city. They're your first customer. The second customer, of course, is your federation has very clear rules, the regulations of the event, what you're expecting, the prize money, all those deliverables have to be delivered. You can't end up in a position, and it's happened. Under my watch, it didn't happen in FIDE, but I mean, it has happened before in FIDE, where we went in, the organizer didn't pay the prize money, and then basically you end up after the event, the athletes are going crazy because of course they're owed money. So that was something that I always make sure that when you have a contract with the host city, prize money and other deliverables are paid up front so that you don't have any surprises at the end of the event. So that's very important. So you're balancing, it's like managing a small business. An event is a business. If you're running a $15 million event, it's a huge business. You're running it with about 300, 400 people. You want to be sure whether they're volunteers, a local organizing committee, heads of departments of different government sectors of the host city. So there's a whole wealth of things that you need to be looking after. But you have to satisfy everybody. That is the role, unfortunately, of it. It's not just your federation. It's a marriage. You have many partners in there. If you're the only one who's getting satisfied, then of course it will not last.
Thank you for the interesting comparison. Josh, how much have the international competitions contributed to the growth compared to like local leagues or national leagues coming from the professional and the private sector?
Yeah, I'll be speaking from my company's perspective. I'm from T1. We are, in many ways, king of international tournaments, as in we do almost better at international tournaments than we do on the local level. So I think doing well internationally puts the organization on the map, and that's what happened to us. So doing well internationally has proved to be very, very effective to grow our brand, more so than winning locally, to be honest with you.
Okay, so we can see that having international presence is pretty important for everyone. What would that mean if we try to portray that in, let's say, ISF perspective, like having the team actually representing the country? How would T1 look at that as an opportunity?
Like T1 representing Korea?
Yes, like if you have like a team of athletes that are from one country, having them actually play for the country.
I see. So not like T1 playing as T1, but then Korean players playing for the national team.
True.
That's very meaningful too. And from the company's perspective, we have to make a lot of sacrifices because playing for the national team would mean that you would have less time for the team. So the company has to make certain sacrifices, financially, also time-wise. But from a fan's perspective, I have to say it is pretty interesting. We kind of had that in Overwatch before. You want to see the best of the countries, compete against each other. So, whatever tournament in the future that have that kind of nation-based format, as a fan, would be very interesting to me.
Okay, so hopefully in the future we will be able to have your team on one of our competitions.
It wouldn't be my team, it would be my players.
Yeah, exactly. Ray, you're doing a wonderful international event, the M Series, let's call them. This year it's M6, last year M5. How valuable is that to the IP, MLBB? And what actually what motivated you to actually personally host it and do it as a publisher on such a big level?
Yeah, for publisher, I think hosting, especially for competitive title, hosting international event is important for us. is create rivalry between regions. So the regions will see who's the best region in the world to represent the games. And this rivalry is important to continue to build up the storyline. For example, we see Filipinos dominating the scenes for MLBB for a couple years for now. So the fans will be eager to see a change. Even for League of Legends, like Korea is dominated, and there's like a China-Korea rivalry every year, and hopefully other regions catch up as well. So it really create a momentum and storylines for every regions to try to be the best to represent the country. And one thing that we highlight the most in our international event is the national pride. So you don't see it often in other titles, but for us, even for M6, it's a mixed team. Like the team can have 2 import players, maybe from Philippines or anywhere else, but we still put the country flag alongside with the clubs. For example, like RRQ representing Indonesia, we put like Indonesia flag alongside on the broadcast package, so that it allows the country pride of the nation to follow, okay, this team represents Indonesia and playing in M6. And that's something we started way ahead in the beginning. And yeah, that's what values for us. At the same time, apart from our own circuit event, we also have partners, a lot of different partners, especially national event like IESF, like SEA Games. Those are very valuable to us because it came along with what we believe in, like country pride. That's something that we synergize very well for all this event.
Knowing that MLBB might be one of the titles that could be featured in the Olympic Esports Games, how do you see the value of that competition compared to M6, compared to the ISF World Championship?
Yeah, it's gonna be very meaningful as well. And first is the International Olympic sanction event from IOC. So it gives an extra layer of context for all the country participating, which means they are representing the country by selection from each NOC. So they're really representing the country in a way that can bring medal back home. And for some country, once it get into Olympic or Asian game level, the winning team might get subsidies from the governments, or like the commercial partners closely work with government. They will give them like awards and stuff. The recognition is a different level. I was told if one team winning like for example, like M6 championship back home is great, right? But at the end of the day, it's like a publisher event. But when the team or the nation team come home with like a gold medal from Asian game, from Olympic, I think the general public will be receiving it more widely, especially those parents' school. They will kind of help them to change the perception toward gaming. So, yeah, it will be adding extra layer of education or help us to approach a wider audience.
Relevance.
In a sense, yeah.
Josh, how much have the Asian Games in Haju changed, helped, contributed to the actual ecosystem around your company, your organization?
Asian Games, as Ray mentioned, gave an extra layer of validation to esports. And it's important because everybody that works in esports knows how important it is, know how exciting it is, but then people outside of esports oftentimes, don't really know that. But, if you win the gold medal from the Asian Games, you make the headlines of national television. So that was important. But honestly, for T1 in Korea, we had that extra validation, but Faker, one of our star players, was the biggest star at the Asian Games anyways. I think he got asked for autographs and photos more than anybody at the tournament. So we already have that validation in Korea. But more realistically, I think the players winning the gold medal in Korea means that they could get the military exemption. So, of course, representing your country is very important, but then realistically, winning that military exemption was very helpful to them. So several of our players got that exemption. So they're going to have, easier time negotiating their next contract.
So officially, it's true. Military exemption did happen for a winner
Right.
playing esports. So yeah,
I mean, there's a different name to it, but then essentially it's an exemption.
excellent. So that's also good news for everywhere in the world and a good example that can hopefully go from east towards the west to show people that actually esports can bring so much value to everything that we do. Geoffrey, ISF has been a member of IMSA, International Mind Sports Association, I think exactly 2 years around this period. How much do you think that in any future IMSA event, esports can bring to the mind sports as a value to the international competitions that will be organized under the umbrella of IMSA?
Right. Well, IMSA today is made up of 9 mind sport federations, including IESF. So we have chess, bridge, drafts, go, shangxi, mahjong, card games, esports, and poker. They're all individual world federations, so at least I can also compare, let's say, where IESF has been in this development process. We had started the discussion process way back with IESF about potential membership in IMSA in 2012. So that's the first time we had been approached. At that time, IESF was lacking in certain areas, so we were asking for more substance, and eventually over time, IESF has far outreached the requirements. For future events, today, I mean, I meet a lot of host cities on a regular basis, and generally speaking, the main interest is first and foremost in esports, which is why it's very interesting that I've been hearing a lot of the discussions, where you compare to traditional sports. We're not as old, it has nothing to do with being old. It's actually the way that esports is growing very fast. Esports is like an iceberg because a lot of the esports scene is not sitting in IESF, but sitting outside in publisher championships, in publisher events, private events. I live in Dubai. I regularly get asked in Dubai by many people, can we organize an event? And I say, guys, organizing events is possible, but you need to understand really what you're doing. And we've had this discussion a number of times, because then I'll just call Boban and I say, Boban, there is this particular city or individual or group of individuals who are interested. Some of them would be just a waste of time because they're really not in the space. They don't understand. They just heard the buzz that they can make money. Then, of course, they get their fingers burned and they disappear forever. Others are serious, and you just have to either be patient, that you have to teach them how to go through the process of organizing. And what's the benefit? They might not get immediate metrics. They might be visionary enough to believe that it's worth investing, maybe losing money in the first event. But then in the second, third, fourth event, like we had with India just recently, where we have some success. So from my side, as an umbrella body, if I get a query for a specific event, I will pass it to the IF particularly concerned. If it's a multi-sport event, then automatically we consider all the member federations. We approach all the member federations in due course to tell them about such an event. The only issue is if, and it doesn't happen with esports, because esports always tends to be, as I said, the leader in the query. But generally, we do have sometimes some policy questions like, we wouldn't like to have this particular sport because of maybe some gambling connotations, not in the particular mind sports event, but because the sport itself has got a gambling or gaming influence, which is something that the country may not like. So in that case, we then explain to the IFs. The IFs are quite well aware of this, where that is applicable. In the case of esports, we definitely see them as part of the family, and all future events, we should have no issue. Which titles, because even if we say esports, esports is complicated. Which titles? And same thing with the IOC Olympics. Which titles? Some people are speculating about 35 titles. God knows how many medals there will be. They're dividing it into 3 divisions. Esports, what you consider is the core esport games. Then there's the virtual sports, and then there's the physical, and so on. So We'll see how that pans out. That will, of course, influence. As you guys understand, it will influence because, I mean, first of all, national Olympic committees, NOCs, where today they may not recognize e-sport as a sport, will now have to accept it, whether they like it or not, because once there are Olympic Games, then the National Olympic Committees recognize the National Esports Federation. This will create some political problems in the short term, but eventually it will phase out. Why? Because many countries have 1, 2, 3 e-sport federations. Which one is the recognized one? Which one should be the people to send athletes? So ministries of sport and national Olympic committees will have to sort this problem out country by country where there are such problems. And it happens. But it will be 1 edition, 2 editions. After some time, the dust will settle and it will be clear who is the representative federation in each country. So that's one area which will help you guys because it will bring clarity to who is responsible. Hopefully also we know the issues with ISF, that eventually ISF will become stronger and then eventually also it can be the liaising body. So that should help ISF because the IOC needs a body helping it. We've seen what happened in Paris on the boxing side, you know, where they eliminated the IF and then of course they had a lot of issues in terms of PR negativity. They stuck to their guns, IBA stuck to their guns, and anyway, they had issues. It's not great on PR. But so there's a lot of things to think about, but yeah, good future for esports.
Good and challenging and of course unknown, and that is why we all love what we do and we are here. Josh, how does a team make a decision to which international competition to go to, accept the invite or not accept the invite, go through qualifiers or not? What are the actual metrics that you guys are using? I'm sure that our audience would be more than happy to hear that because everybody wonders.
How do we decide to participate?
How do you evaluate, for example, if you get invited to, I don't know, Warsaw Masters, let's call it an event, and someone invites, what metrics do you actually use, whether to join or not in a certain competition?
Well, the company's perspective is pretty clear. We have to make money. So the return on the investment of sending the players has to be bigger than the investment itself. So the return oftentimes comes in the form of prize money. It comes in the form of raising awareness of the brand or the form of, pride. For the players. So weighing all these things, if the return is bigger than the investment of sending the players, we send our players. So one example is Esports World Cup. Obviously, it's a big tournament. This year was the inaugural tournament. And we could have, honestly decided not to send the team, but then, based on the, metrics of weighing the return versus the investment, it made a lot of sense, so we sent our team.
Okay, so yeah, basically understandable, of course, the costs and everything, but I'm sure that there must be some kind of a credibility check of the organizer, not just, because anybody can say, we've seen events called professional and everything, but at the end of the competition, you see that it actually is like a lower tier event, regardless of the prize fund. And there has been situations when the prize fund hasn't been paid, as Jeffrey mentioned. So I assume that you guys are actually checking who is the organizer and behind it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, all the game titles that we operate in, we work with big players, and we see no issue with credibility with these big players.
Okay, understand. Thank you for the input. Ray, where do you see M7, M8, M9, M10 going in the future? I know it's mostly Asia, Southeast Asia centric because of the audience, the popularity and the fandom that you have there. But do you see it moving away or, trying to spread the news to the rest of the world?
Yeah, actually, we already started moving away because we have... We usually have like a middle season event. It's called Southeast Asia Cup, but last year we rebranded it as mid-season cup. and we hosted in Riyadh as a joint event with Esports World Cup. So we're already moving international event out of Southeast Asia. So for future like M series, I'll speak on behalf of the team. I would say we leave it open. We see how's the MLBB developing in other country, and actually our games is going very well in Eastern Europe. I just had a chat with some friends in upstairs talking about the metrics. So Eastern Europe has become our number 2 regions after Southeast Asia. So we're looking at from Eastern Europe, we expand to the whole Europe, and then maybe from the east to the west, and also through Middle East like a springboard. Connecting East and the West. I like the concept from Esports World Cup, how they position the event in Riyadh. From there, we spin off Mobile Legends globally. And speaking of like MAU, like global user, we have about 70 to 75% of the overall user base in Asia, but it's 25 to 30 out of Asia. So the number is expanding. So hopefully it get bigger. We have a bigger community out of Asia, and then from there we can spin it off and host our international event in more country in the future. So that's the goal that we have for the global expansion.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to see MLBB in Southeast Europe, very close to us, and maybe you never know in the future. Geoffrey, we know Mind Sports has a huge base of players, but the viewership compared to other sports, I think that it's one of the rare sports where there are more players actually than viewers. So how do you think that in real life competitions can actually help change that? And I don't know whether in integration between Mind Sports and esports can actually help shift that paradigm.
Again, it's a cultural issue because, I mean, I was thinking about what you were saying, and initially I was agreeing, and then I started thinking about specific cases. In the West, particularly, let's say the Western audiences, okay, when you're talking about high-skill games, chess, Weiqi, Go, Xiangqi, Chinese chess, the majority of the viewers don't understand what's going on. So if you're seeing CS2, it's quite clear. You know, you've got it, you've got the blood on the screen, you've seen the guy, he's died, and the screen is very easy to follow. So the easier the following of any particular sport, whether it's football or CS2 or chess, depends upon the complexity of what you're watching, first and foremost. Secondly, it also depends upon the respect of the fans. And things like chess, as I was saying earlier, you know, when we went to see, we could sort of had calculated, there's about 600 million people around the world who could be interested in chess. They won't watch it, so they'll look at the results. If you look at places like Russia, chess is on the front page news. So if one of their players wins, you'll get the mainstream newspapers. India is exactly the same. India right now, they're crazy about chess. Modi will meet them. They just won the Olympic Games and so on. So they have huge potential for esports as well. China, they've had world champions in Weiqi, Xiangqi, in chess. So there's huge potential in China. The winners are household names. So it depends culturally where you're looking. If we look at the West, we would say Mind Sports in the West, without any particular reason, it's just not that interesting. Mainly because in places like the US, you've got already big action-based brands, NBA, NHL, NFL, and the people are used towards wanting to see action sports with immediate results. So the challenge for us is, can you make chess more accessible? Well, you can make it more interesting, but still it's always going to be a game where if you're not going to understand what's going on. So one of the concepts I had recently was, let's have literally an open stadium, because one of the things we get in chess is you'll have something like this. You won't have spectators because we need absolute silence. The players don't want to be disturbed. There can't be anybody making any noise. And I said, guys, that's absolutely crazy. You need to go to the esports model. So we're learning from esports, which is let the spectators in. Either these guys are going to wear some sort of noise-canceling headphones, or you make some sort of, as far as possible, soundproof boots, but let the people have emotion, have music, have music between points, have fast results, make it more entertainment. If you're not entertaining people, and it's more considered the comparison classical music versus pop music. Chess is maybe today more like classical music orientation, whereas esports is more pop music. So you're going to have more people following automatically esports. So we need to move actually chess downwards in the sense of make it more accessible, make it more easy for people to follow, have fun, not make it so much, no noise. This sort of thing has to stop, It's not interesting, which is why internet chess is huge. Because people are at home and they're doing whatever they like. I'm playing music in the background, I'm being noisy. In the meantime, the players are playing online without caring. So,
well, I guess that's why we see a lot of remixes of classical music, adding techno, pop, and other rhythms in it to make it more accessible. And I'm happy to hear that chess, one of the oldest sports, if not the oldest sport in the world, is actually learning something from esports and trying to implement to make it more accessible. Josh, how do you evaluate the difference between participating in an online competition rather than in an offline one, like with participating, on an event, on a stage, and also compared to doing an online one?
Offline is infinitely more fun. You need the crowd, as Jeffrey said, you need the music. T1 especially believes in the in-person experience. So we host our home games ourselves. Started this year, we're going to do more next year. And at our home game, we bring a lot of entertainment aspects. As a matter of fact, like we get asked the question, is esports a kind of sports? And oftentimes, my answer is it doesn't really matter because for bureaucratic and administrative reasons, as Jeffrey mentioned, it could be important so that we get the recognition, on the national level, on the international level. How are we going to be categorized under like Olympic Committee and stuff like that? I get that, but then, from my perspective as part of the management of T1, it doesn't really matter because we draw inspiration from sports, entertainment, and gaming. And we bring together all those elements into something unique that's called esports. And that's why when we have our home games, we bring not only cool things from sports, but also from entertainment. We bring a lot of stuff from K-pop, K-entertainment. We bring a lot of stuff from gaming, and that's from the previous panels. Gaming essentially is a digital form of entertainment, and because gaming and esports share that digital aspect, we can do a lot more digitally cool things than traditional sports. So we don't need to restrict ourselves to being a subcategory of sports. We just got to bring cool things from sports, gaming, and entertainment. And for that reason, a lot of things in person are way cooler. So I prefer offline events to online events.
What about the athletes? Is it different for them when they play on a stage or?
Yeah, they obviously prefer in-person offline events. It's more exciting. It affects their gameplay, and it brings more pressure to the players. And it's all about withstanding and overcoming that pressure. That's part of being a superstar. And that's what makes our athletes, a lot better than, other athletes, I have to say, So they prefer the in-person offline experience.
Thank you. Ray, as you're an organizer also of your M-Series events, during the events, of course, the competition is core. What's the value of the, let's call them side events or side activities? Because I've seen what you did last year in Manila. I hope you're going to do something similar in Kuala Lumpur this year. Where do you see the value of the side events that are built around the actual competition?
Yeah, it's also very important, and actually it's getting bigger this year. We call it M6 Carnival this year. So we have a carnival alongside with the main event. So we're having a lot more activation in that area. and you have different kind of booth, sponsors booth or activation booth, just to create player experiences alongside from the main matches. I think that that's very important because at the end of the day, the event is serving in a sense of experience to all the players. So apart from the main competition where you go inside the stadium or venue, watch the game. Apart from the game, there's like maybe half an hour break in between the games, and how you entertain your audience. We all constantly think about it, and we did the trial case 2 years ago. We have like a festival in our M4, so we had the festival that time, the first time we tried it after COVID, and it went really well. So we continues to doing it, and this year in Malaysia, we become bigger. We call it Carnival to have all the fans to celebrate together, not just core esports fans, but also those community players as well. They can, it's also served as a stepping stone. Some of them are not that hardcore, want to go to esports event, watch the match, how the pro plays, but in a sense that they can go to the Carnival. From there, they learned from there, and then how to enjoy to watching like a esports event. So that's what what we are trying to do, and especially like Josh mentioned about the offline experience. We never stopped for international event from M1. Even during COVID, we still host offline event in Singapore. Like every player just flew in and they quarantine, but still they play on the like a bubble setting. That's very important for us to host that kind of offline experience, especially in terms of like for pro scene is more for integrity, to make sure they play in the same setting and not cheating. That's very important. Yeah.
We see in American football, like sometimes the halftime show gets more viewership than the actual game itself. Do you see that happening in esports?
It's getting there. If you see different kind of other publisher doing like opening ceremony, they have like celebrity. I think it is changing the scene of people get excited like what's the opening ceremony for this year, just like Super Bowl halftime show. But usually we do it in like opening ceremony because we want to keep the match momentum going on. So yeah, it's important element is getting bigger and bigger, and I think the entertainment industry is best also a good tool to entertain an audience as well. Yeah.
Josh, your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I very much enjoy the carnival and the entertainment side of like what Moonton does, what Riot Games does. And for our home games as well, I said that we bring a lot of elements from entertainment, especially K-pop. So and also we bring stuff from traditional sports as well. So, you know, as in baseball, we brought in a celebrity to do a first pitch ceremony. So that's something that we brought from traditional sports. As in traditional sports, also we brought in a singer to do like a national anthem singing, which was, you know, accepted really well. From K-pop, we brought in this thing called light stick. It's like a stick that looks like this mic. You kind of wave it as you listen to the song. And we brought that into our home game. And next year, we're going to do the second iteration, which is going to include a vibration feature. And that's taking from gaming, like PlayStation control have vibration features. So as you connect your device, light stick, to your phone, and then you put in your favorite player on the app, each time that player makes a kill, your device or light stick will vibrate and, you know, light up. So yeah, we're bringing in a lot of aspects of entertainment, traditional sports, and, you know, for that reason, having these halftime shows and other types of entertainment is very important. And then I think it just adds to the value of esports offline events.
Wonderful. I'm just so happy to see so much integration between the entertainment and the esports. because it also touches the audiences that not usually watch esports, but it gets them closer. And I think that within a generation or half generation from now, the spectators and everybody, naturally it will come to them, instead of like now people are turning on the TV to watch football or Formula One. But I think that in 20, 30 years, they're going to turn the TV on to watch some esport games. And as I'm flying quite frequently, I see more and more people actually watching esport games or reruns of a good esport game in the plane, which brings huge value. Geoffrey, is chess esports? Is esport chess, digital chess, online chess, speed chess? There are so many versions of chess, like Mind Sports. But according to you, what's the integration? Is there a connection, or only the intelligent part of it, the types of intelligence that are used there?
I mean, you can't actually say, what, the way esports has evolved. I think we had this discussion also in Beijing a few months ago. You need to have a divide, because once you start getting into electronic games, which are being played by professional people, just using, whether they're professional cyclists or professional chess players, and they're just using a digital asset to basically do their own job, which they normally could do, is not really the spirit of esports. The spirit of esports is where a normal young guy or a normal person who has been playing one particular title or something has an aspiration of actually becoming a professional in that particular area. In chess, it doesn't matter if you're playing Magnus Carlsen online or you're playing him offline. I mean, you know that you're playing one of the best players in the world, and the skill factor is very, very high. There isn't much difference in whether you're playing online or offline. In that case, you know that you still basically have a very high-level skill game. So again, if I'm cycling against some crazy, professional cyclist, I wouldn't have a chance. So those different aspects are different. When you guys are sitting down and playing esports, even if you might be coming not from, let's say, like top professional countries like Korea, where now esports is like a religion, and you have top professional athletes, still there is an aspiration that somebody from Iran might actually beat, Korea in the Asian Championships. Or somebody, comes out surprisingly and does reasonably well. This doesn't really happen in chess or things like that. So that's a very big difference. So I wouldn't say that chess, whether you play it online or offline, is an esport. And so I agree with you on that perspective when you were pointing this out also in Beijing. We need to distinguish between those where there's an element of aspiration, fantasy, a normal person is doing something that, you are actually doing only because that particular scene is doing. League of Legends, CS2, this isn't something you're doing as a normal thing. You can only do it as a dream, let's say, or as a game in that particular environment.
Yeah. And this actually is perfect intro into my next question. Do we see, first Josh and then Ray, do we see AR and VR actually entering esports on a serious level? Because for now, we all know it's like more of entertainment type of thing. But do you actually see AR or VR being part of League of Legends or any other titles?
Not yet, but then maybe Ray has more insider information than I do. But then I don't see any yet. I would love to see more AR and VR in esports, because that's the uniquely digital aspect of esports that traditional sports cannot really emulate. And as a form of entertainment, having both digital and physical aspects is a very, very unique strength, because you come to be entertained. You come to be entertained to these sports matches because these matches are real. These matches don't have a set outcome. It's not a scripted event. It's very much real. At the same time, you want to have dreams as well, right? You want to see the underdogs beat the top dogs. But then what you see in like your dreams as you sleep are only realizable in digital formats. You can't really make what you see in your dream in the physical world, or you can, but then it's very hard. But in VR, AR, in digital format, in games, you can emulate and make true some of the things that you see in your dream. So having that aspect of having that live and real aspect, and also having that dreaming and fantastic aspect, is something very unique to esports. And for that reason, I think bringing in more AR and VR elements to esports will only make the future of esports stronger and more entertaining.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, this is something good to have. Like VR, AR is not necessary to the stage of necessary yet. I think the tech is still developing, and until a stage that it can create a real immersive experience. That's the goal, right? If you want to watch like an event, even sport event or esport event, if you got a tool that provide you the immersive experience, you feels like, okay, I'm now in Paris. Okay, now I'm in England, or I'm just like sitting in a stadium. The same vibe that will create absolutely like a value to the audience for the experience. But I think we're not getting there yet. When you look at the VR, like all the glasses, you are watching it, it still feels like 2D. Like you are having a larger screen within the goggle. But I think with that advanced, ultimately, if we can create something super immersive, that will be from good to have become like a must-have. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe after a few years of development, it becomes something essential for esports event. But now our audience, I would say, they're very used to watching it from a screens, like mobile or like a traditional TV screens or even monitor. That's the way our audience behaving now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever the audience is seeing, whether they're playing League of Legends on computers or MLBB on mobile phones, yes, for the athletes it's a bit different experience, but on screen it looks exactly the same. So aside from the fact that maybe an athlete can perform in augmented or virtual reality, also from the other side, from the spectators, then maybe for them, as we can see now for football or for NBA, they're creating like unique VR experiences. Maybe this is the first step for esports, but hopefully in the future we'll see athletes actually performing in a augmented or virtual reality, which will also make it more interesting for fans to watch. But yet, the technology is not there yet. Geoffrey, AI.
Well, I just wanted to add one point on this, because I mean, I recall nowadays that these TV programs, entertainment, are using a lot of these VR, AR type of things where people are dancing on stage and there's the guy is actually dancing in the background, he's a complete amateur, but he's actually being mapped and so on. So I don't think it's so far away for you guys, because I'm sure, you know, technology is there already. It's just finding the right situation, how to exploit it.
Yep. One of the things I want to add, one of the things that we want to do is, I've been telling this to many people, and I'm saying this here, you know, kind of publicly. We want to bring our home game to the Sphere in Las Vegas. And, you know, we look to what the UFC has done in the Sphere, which is great. But then at the end of the day, it's a physical match, and you have to see from afar. And it's like a small, you know, like, it's very small from a distance. But then if you could, you know, use the entire screen that's in the Sphere, and as Ray said, you know, I think esports has an edge here to make the game a lot more immersive than traditional sports, using these VR, AR, more immersive technologies.
Yeah, I would suggest the Korean government to actually bring the Sphere to Korea. So
That'd be great as well.
that might be interesting. How much do you think AI will influence mind sports?
Well, yesterday again, when we were discussing integrity, I said AI will, if you want to call it AI, or I mean, ultimately it's just more sophisticated computer processing, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just getting bestial, you know, in the sense of it's just fantastic. So, I mean, yes, it will look at player reaction times much quicker. It might actually tell you what was the best play in particular situations based on heuristic learning, which is much easier. So AI can be beneficial, I would say. Many people said when the computer started, you know, beating top chess players in the 70s, and then eventually Kasparov lost, you know, to Deep Blue and all this story. They said, oh, it's the end. No, it isn't the end, because it's just like when I get asked this question, you know, will things stop because computers can play better. Well, sorry, cranes lift more weight than men. Cars move faster than men. Boats move faster than men swimming. So these sports didn't stop. The competition is actually between human and human. So yes, of course, I mean, computers might be able to do things better, or mechanical objects can do things better than men, but still the human challenge is what it's all about. Now, that's one side of it. So the sports will not die because, you know, computers are better than men at it. But also, the computers will help because, of course, you can do simulations. They will actually maybe study your opponents. They'll look at your opponent's games. They'll tell you where the weaknesses are. And these sort of machines, once they start analyzing, the whole standards will improve. So there will be an improvement because, of course, players will start to say, okay, simply go in and tell me what's wrong with the way Boban is playing this game. And the computer will come and it will find your weaknesses. So identification of weaknesses is what we're always doing. When we're competing, we're looking where our opponent is weak to try to exploit it, not where he's strong, of course. So I see AI as beneficial, not negative.
Are you using some AI tools or applications in your practices or preparations?
Yeah, but to a limited extent. It's not as readily available as we would like it to be. So yeah, limited at this point.
Okay. Ray, next week you have the finals of M6. What are the actual expectations from it, and how will it look? Give us a little, you know, behind the scenes information.
Yeah, in next week, we're gonna put it in a stadium, sizable, about roughly about 10K audience in KL. So in terms of audience scales, it's the biggest world championship we did so far. We did try to find a venue last year in Manila for 10K plus audience, but you know, Philippines venues is fully booked in Christmas time, so we cannot make it. This year we managed to find one in KL, so we'll see how it goes. Tickets selling fast now, and then and yeah, and other than that, what we expect more is co-streaming. So I think co-streaming play a big part nowadays in viewerships. For example, especially for us, we need those viewership not just to prove how popular we are, but this viewership will give us dates of percentage of our player, how they care, do they really care about esports? And if they care about esports, what we can do more with the dev team, and also to our commercial partners as well. There's also important metrics. They're looking at how many people tune in, how many people do watch the ads or interaction with the brand activation during the period of time. Yeah, so those are the metrics we are looking at. And going back to co-streaming, I think for many other titles, I think they're already embracing co-streaming. They have like co-streaming campaign, and we work closely. This year we work closely with Esports Chart, like the analytic platform for viewerships. We roll out like a co-streaming leaderboard on the Esports Chart, like real life, to see which of the co-streamer is leading the way. In a sense, you also have the Esports Chart also provide like a fund to incentivize those co-streamer to co-stream the event. So we'll see whether we'll break some record together with the co-streamer about the viewership. So yeah, those are the things. And apart from that, we're doing Carnival. We are reviewing some of the announcement doing M6. Yeah, so that would be exciting one for this year.
Josh, before we go to the audience to see if there are any questions, how much do you see these international competitions to be life-changing for the players? Actually, it doesn't matter if it's a winning team or a losing team. Does it actually change their lives, or it just come, go, and...
It definitely changed lives, but not only the lives of the players, but the fans as well. Because that's why these live events and live sporting events are so important. Because, like, in my example, one of the most memorable events in my life was this soccer match back in 2002 in Korea. We played against Portugal. we were the underdog, but we beat them. And for me, it gave me a national pride and a sense of, being able to achieve things that we thought were impossible. And I think it was only so memorable to me because it was in person. You're gonna get the sense of like inspiration only in person, and these things are only amplified at those international events because there are higher stakes, more things are on the line. So yeah, these are life-changing moments for the players, and through the players, the fans get inspired to be better versions of themselves, and these memories live on forever. So very important.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience before we?
Hi. I would like to ask Josh. So basically, we know that T1 players are pretty big stars, and they're well known in the esports community, not only in the game titles they participate, but in the whole industry, basically. Do you think that their interest for national competitions is there, or it's yet to be developed? Because I'm not sure if ISF is hosting any game title that you have players in, but do you think that they would be interested if the opportunity comes?
Representing the national team?
The national teams, where they're coming from, for example,
Yeah, I think the interest is already there. I mentioned military exemption for Korean national players, but then more so than the military exemption, what's more important is the pride to represent the country. So we don't need to really, emphasize how important it is to represent your country. The players already have that sense of pride for playing for the countries, so it's already there.
Thank you. And I have one more question for Ray. So since we were talking about international esports competitions, the beauty of esports is that we can actually play online. Besides from the other traditional sports, we can have competitions, full competitions actually online. How important is the current limitations to the technology, for example, of the submarine cables across the globe for expansion of the game, for example, Mobile Legends to Africa, to Europe, to Northern America? Do you think that we have a pretty big limitation to the technology? So maybe that's the reason behind of the slow growth, though.
Yeah, that's very important for online tournament. One of the important element is the ping. Like if we playing versus different country, you need to make sure they're playing with the acceptable ping and same ping across country to make sure. We have for MLBB we have over 40 or 50 server across the world. So so even we have so many server, but we cannot host online event like Singapore versus US. That's impossible because of the ping. You go up to 200 for 300 ping, you cannot play the games. That's the challenge of the online tournament, but still we managed to divide it into different regions. So usually when we cannot do offline tournaments, then we will host online tournament in like qualifying stage. So like in different regions, they host their own regions qualifying event online, and then go to offline event when it comes to international event. But that's gonna change for different genre. I think that requirement is only for just for example like mobile shooting game, they require ping. But for games like chess, they don't necessarily to need the ping because they play with the more like a skillful, like mindful game. So we don't. Trevor, you want to add on? Is it important?
No, it's not the case. I mean, ping is important. I live in Dubai. I have a ping of 113. And when I'm playing Blitz, on 40, 50 moves, that's 5-6 seconds. So it's not good. No. It depends on the server and the platform. If there is a time seal, then the ping isn't important. So if you play the move, you can't do it in your type of games because you can't sort of do something in League of Legends. Chess is a move-by-move, turn-based type of game. So there you can seal, and your opponent may say, why am I waiting and his time hasn't increased by 2 seconds by only 1? Because of time seal. But many servers don't do time seal, and then the lag goes onto your time. So it's not good. So it depends. So it's not good, but yeah, I mean, the main number one server doesn't do time seal. So if I'm here in Korea, I'm enjoying it because the ping is fantastic. But if I'm playing in Dubai, it's absolutely terrible.
Okay.
You know, that's good takes. Yeah, good takes. Because we're gonna launch our chess game next year. MLBB chess called Magic Chess Go Go, and we're gonna do like we're gonna design a different esport ecosystem. Everything, most of the tournaments will be happening in game, and it's gonna be like a mass esports that we want to create. So that's good text from Jeffrey. We talked to Dev team because we want to do something globally to make it cross regions. But that's a good take from Jeffrey as well. We're gonna decide something, but it's gonna be inside the game. Do a lot of online tournaments. It's gonna be something interesting ecosystem. For another title.
And one more question.
Yeah, I have a quick question to you, Josh. T1, similar to some of the teams, has also a second team or academy team, right? And I was wondering whether, for example, going as a national team, given the value of your top players and the value of the time, the price, the cost that it comes with, is it maybe then an option to give this as a practice to academy team and sort of grow the new generation and give them that experience? What do you think?
That wouldn't really happen because the CASPA, which is the main organization for esports, would pick the players, not us. So they wouldn't pick from the second tier team that we have. They would pick from the other teams that are still better than our rookies.
I see. So, for example, if you would not, provided other teams have the same mentality, right? The top tier team don't play, that would enable, right?
Sorry, repeat that, please.
If the other top tier teams don't play, let's say everyone, Gen G, everyone sticks to the same, then the rookies get the chance, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. For a lesser tournament, we would send our rookies to these tournaments, but yeah, that would not be the case in real life because the federation would choose best players from all different teams.
And final question.
Thank you, Boban. Actually, when Boban was bringing up publisher, I had this question in my mind, yes. I'm thinking when we're talking about the esports competition, we know it's different from any other traditional sports competition because of the existence of publisher, this unique stakeholder. So as it is getting, well, right now we're talking about this international or globalization. So it has becoming like more and more international and bigger as well, and also maybe more and more official, yes, with the IOC recognition and etc. So how do you see the future role of the publisher? And especially when we're talking about the esports competition, is there going to be some change of the business models or how we even design and organize the competition? And also, of course, maybe in terms of also revenue sharing, all those kind of things. Yeah. So.
Who are you asking?
Well, we have only one publisher here, so
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's clear.
Yeah, speaking on just on behalf of Moonton, I work with different publishers before joining Moonton game. So that's the fact that you cannot change because it's the publisher dev team create the game. So the definitely publisher will own the IP. It's just that how different publisher gonna work with those governing body when it comes to national event. I believe we started working with IESF 3 years ago. I think all the way, us are very supportive, collaborative to each other. So yeah, that's something not gonna change. But through those IOC recognition, I think publisher is kind of getting for some publisher maybe they will be controlling their IP harsher, but for us it's very open and collaborative with all the different kind of partners. But that will change the scene eventually because that's something important to us. Like it's something that publisher can never achieve that kind of national-wise event. So yeah, we'll see how it changes the landscape, and yeah, there's something new, and I think there's gonna be iteration year of changes We'll see how the industry going to lead us through the new ecosystem, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe I just kind of the way I see the esports world is similar to all these, I would say, IPs that already exist in the United States for some time. So you have NBA and FIFA, you have NHL and so on. So you have big mega brands, literally $2-3 billion brands, whatever, doing their own product. And they collaborate with FIBA because, of course, you get the Olympic Games, you get national athletes, you have World Cups, where they have to send sort of the athletes, and they understand that still they have to select the best. So the relationship and the business model eventually that IESF has to look at is probably something that the Olympic federations like FIBA and so on are enjoying with huge IPs, in the United States. That's the way I see it. So.
Thank you. It's been an honor to share the stage with you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time, for your inputs. It's been really valuable. Thank you for sharing with us things that people cannot hear anywhere else. And looking forward to seeing you on another esports event soon. Thank you.
Thank you.